Today I want to talk with you about understanding conflict. At TMS Global, we really value the importance of highly functioning teams that have healthy relationships and demonstrate that through their lives and ministries together. One of the things that is often quoted in statistics around ministry and mission teams is the area of conflict. In fact, some statistics go as far as to say that the number one reason that missionaries sometimes will leave their place of service is not because of the local culture, but because of conflict with their team. What is it behind conflict? What is it that makes conflict become such an issue for people? And are there some ways around it? This is not about conflict resolution, but more about how do you understand conflict in the first place, and then maybe do things in yourself and clarify things with your coworkers in a way that'll help prevent the conflict from becoming a huge issue in the first place. As I've worked around the world with different ministry teams and mission teams, one thing I've noticed quite often is that conflict is usually not around theological problems or methodology differences, but often conflict is focused more on just misunderstandings, miscommunications, misassumptions. A couple of years ago, I was at a seminar and somebody was talking about conflict, and they presented a model which I had never seen before that has been extremely helpful to me in understanding this. It actually comes from a theory of knowledge that was then applied in a book called The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge, and it's called the ladder of inference. The way the ladder of inference works is that at the very base, we recognize that there's reality. There is what's happening. Reality is like what a camera would record. It's what you see if you just took a video of something. There's plants growing here. There's clouds behind us. We hear some random noises going on. I have a mustache. I'm not wearing glasses. Whatever else. Just it's the reality of what's going on. That's at the very base of this ladder of inference. Just what's there. Now, of course, as humans, we can sense all of this stuff, but we can't process all that at once. I could spend the entire next hour just describing what I'm seeing right now and not even scratch the surface of what's really going on around me. So we have to select from that reality. We have to select what are we going to pay attention to out of the reality I'm seeing. If I've invited someone to my house, say twice in a row, and they've turned down the invitation both times, then I am going to pay attention to that. I'm going to realize there's been this invitation to our house for dinner, and it's been turned down. So I select that reality. There may be other things going on with this same couple that I'm getting to know, but I'm paying attention to that. Well, once we've selected the reality, now we have to begin to say, how do we ascribe meaning to that? What does this mean? How do I interpret what I've seen? And so in the example of this couple I'm mentioning, I may say, well, they must not really want to hang out with me. There must be something wrong. Maybe they don't like that the house I live in is too simple, or who knows what. But I will often ascribe meaning to that. Once I've done that, then I continue to move up and I draw conclusions. So I say, maybe they don't like my house. Maybe these people just are not very sociable. So I'll draw conclusions and I'll ascribe them to those people. So I keep moving up from selecting from reality to giving meaning to that reality to drawing conclusions about that all the way to the top. Now, this is happening subconsciously. That's the power of this, is you realize that all these selections, all these things, our minds are doing that constantly. In fact, we're thankful for that, because if they didn't, we couldn't survive. Can you imagine if you had all this stimulus all the time, stimuli, and you had no way, you had to consciously process it all, you couldn't make it. So our minds are doing all this unconsciously. But what happens then is, as we've moved up there with this conclusion, so in my example, this couple doesn't like me. Now, when I go back to select my next set of reality, that becomes the lens through which I select that reality. So now, next time I see this couple, I've come to the conclusion, this couple doesn't like me, then I'm going to see what they do through that lens. So the next time I see them walking down the street and I see them talking to each other, I may ascribe meaning to that reality, saying, well, they're probably talking about me because they don't like me. And so then that will add to that. I keep moving up the ladder again, now ascribing more meaning. Not only do they not like me, but they talk about me negatively. And then I come back around. And the next time somebody else may not invite me over for dinner, I may assume in seeing that reality, oh my goodness, I bet this first couple told the other couple not to come to my house because I'm no fun. In other words, I'm picking kind of a trite example, but the point is that we're doing this all the time, ascribing different motives, different understandings, different assumptions about people. Now, the reality may have been, in both cases, this couple may have had a legitimate conflict. Maybe their kid was in a soccer game, or maybe their parents had called them for something. So it could have been simple, but because I didn't clarify that, I drew assumptions to it. I keep going around and around, repeating this cycle. And pretty soon I got myself so entrenched that about anything this couple does, I'm going to interpret in the reality to reinforce the reality that they don't like me. So now they may actually bring a gift to my house and say, we're giving this to you because we appreciate you. And I'll probably have some way of twisting that around to think, well, they're giving me this gift just because they're trying to make everybody else see how much better they are than me. So I've been in cases where, like, with one couple might say the sky is blue, and the couple they're having conflict with would have some way of ascribing some illicit motive or meaning to that, to misinterpret that. And what happens when that's going on now is that people will be completely at an impasse. And in fact, any effort one side may make to try to fix it, the other often will misinterpret in the most negative way possible. But the power of this is, if we can bring this to our awareness when it's happening, is if we can early on clarify. So I contact this couple and say, we tried to get y'all over twice. It hasn't worked out. I just want to make sure there's nothing going on that I'm missing or misunderstanding. I know it's awkward. We don't like doing that. But that's the point. They may say, we really wanted to come over, but our parents had something going on, we couldn't do it, or whatever else. There may have been a reason. Or they may say, well, really, we don't like hanging out with you. Then it's like, well, bummer. But at least I know. But the point is, in most cases, these assumptions are being made. They're not accurate. And that's what I've seen over and over in conflict situations, is that, again, it wasn't a matter of theology, it wasn't a matter of methodology, it was just entrenched miscommunication, misassumptions that cause problems. So if we can get clarity early on in any conversation, it really helps out. Especially this is true when you're dealing with emails and other forms of communication where you don't even have the benefit of body language. People will always interpret an email in the mood and the sense they were in, not in the sense you sent it. So it's always important to clarify. So why does this matter? Well, it matters especially in ministry teams in that the enemy is working overtime to try to seed discord, seed misunderstanding. And so if we're not paying attention to it, he will use these misunderstandings to cause discord, and then our entire witness is destroyed. The Bible is very clear that people know that we follow Jesus. They know who he is by our unity with each other. So if the enemy can get at us in any way he can through misunderstanding to get at our unity, then our Christian witness is destroyed. So that's the number one reason why we've got to stay after this, recognizing the enemy will come at it. But just on a personal basis, I found this understanding helps me in dealing with just people in general, not just in terms of my ministry work, but even in terms of my routine relationships with people, with my kids, with my spouse. One of my best examples I have is I had just done this teaching. And as we were wrapping it up, I realized there was someone in the audience who was part of our ministry team who I had actually been doing this with. Without really thinking about it until it just hit me like a brick, that I'd been doing this. And I'd built up this entire case in my head that this person disapproved of me. They thought I didn't really know what I was doing and didn't like me. And I was very intimidated and often would be on eggshells around them and frankly didn't want to be around them. And I realized what I had done. So I actually went up to this person and I used this language. I said, I realize in teaching this, I've gone a few cycles with you and I've made some assumptions about you that I don't know if they're accurate or not. We talked about it. In about 5 minutes, it was gone. I mean, poof. We have not experienced that again in our relationship, and now we work extremely well together. So it's a powerful thing. It gives us language to talk honestly with each other about conflict and misunderstanding, enabling us to clarify things and then work together and have much healthier relationships with other people.